We are now officially 2 weeks into Lodgegust, meaning that today is day 14, and in today's video I will be giving you the other side of my hype list. This list will include all 5 scare zones and the one show that will be featured at this year's Halloween Horror Nights Orlando event. And if you were curious about my haunted house hype list, go ahead and check out the video that I released last Wednesday covering the hype list for those haunted houses. And if you're wondering how I'll be doing this for the scare zones and the show, it will be the same way in which I gave you the ones last week, giving you 1 to 6, with 6 being what I am least excited for and 1 being the thing that I am overall most excited for. Now with all the craziness out of the way, I need to say that even though a zone or show is located at number 6, that doesn't mean I will dislike it. It's more so the fact that I am just more excited for one thing rather than the other. So let's dive straight into my hype list with my number 6, and that is Duality of Fear. If we look at last year's event, I was so excited for that front scare zone because it focused on the event icon, Dr. Oddfellow. And it looks like this year they're going to be following that same formula by giving us the 2 newest HHN iconic characters, Sinister and Surreal, in this scare zone. As the description reads, as soon as you enter the gates of Halloween Horror Nights, you must choose a path. Follow Sinister, the manifestation of visceral horror, or follow Surreal, the incarceration of unearthly terror. And don't get me wrong, the concept of the scare zone sounds great. The way that you can decide which path to follow sounds fantastic, but the only issue I have is that this makes it feel like it's a table of context scare zone for the rest of the park, which is the biggest issue I had with Dr. Oddfellow. It's the same problem. I'm tired of table of context scare zones. Now, if this is completely different and I'm wrong and it's not a table of context scare zone, I'll be happy. But it might just be one, so I wanted that to be said. But I do like the fact that it's unique and it has a way that you can choose going towards one or the other of the iconic characters for this year's event. But now moving to number 5, we have Demon Queens. The description for this house reads, get caught in an otherworldly hellscape ripped from the darkest corners of your mind. 4 merciless queens, loyal to Surreal, rule, surrounded by hordes of fanatical followers. And if I'm being real, this scare zone, just based on the description alone, reminds me so much of Dark Zodiac. Of course, it's not focused on the Zodiac, but it's focused on the cosmos. So it's something that's very similar, and I'm hoping I'm wrong there because I wasn't the biggest fan of Dark Zodiac, but we'll have to see how this scare zone is played out. I wonder if the inclusion of the HHN iconic character Surreal would make this scare zone more enticing for me, but aside from that, on paper, this feels like a rinse and repeat of the year's prior zone, so I hope I'm wrong, and I hope this zone is fantastic, but right now my mindset on paper is that this is going to be very similar to Dark Zodiac, and that's not what I want to happen. Now we hop over to number 4 as we look at the other iconic character scare zone in Torture Fair. This zone description is, come one, come all, to Sinister's Renaissance Fair with a devious theme of medieval torture. Brave the gloriously gory homemade torture devices till you're put out of your misery. And one thing about this zone I really like is that it's an idea that we haven't really seen in a scare zone in Halloween Horror Nights, and it makes it seem very fun. And with this scare zone being in New York, it means they have so much space to bring out these medieval torture devices, meaning that there can be a lot of things shown in this zone, but we probably won't see them now because of the parade. But I am hesitant in general due to the way that this scare zone might play out. The fact that it's playing off of Sinister, a character that they're creating for this year's event, I'm not sure how it's going to work, but I do believe that they can make this work very well, but I just want to see how it goes first before I have a solid opinion on it. Looking at number 3, this is our one and only show featured at this year's event that we know of, and it's Nightmare Fuel Nocturnal Circus. And this, yet again, is another thing that I'm somewhat hesitant about, because the first couple years of Nightmare Fuel were very similar in story. So this is a brand new show, a brand new story, and I'm hoping that they can do something very different. And the show's description is, step right up to a dark circus, a new nightmare that carries with it a sinister curse. Get trapped into a thrilling spectacle of pyro and aerialists to the beat of pulsing, pounding rock rhythms. And don't get me wrong, with that description alone, it feels like this show is going to be fun and different from the years prior. So with that being said, I'm more excited for this than I have been for the past shows, meaning that it's higher on my hype list than any of the past Nightmare Fuels have been ever. And I feel like it's also safe to say that Black Parade will most likely be coming back, as this has become the signature song for this show. So I'm excited to hear that that's also become a staple for me for Halloween Horror Nights as well. Now going into my top 2, we have a scare zone that I am very excited to see, that is Swamp of the Undead. In Backwaters, Louisiana, you unwittingly wander onto private property where you're swamped by zombies born from the bodies of other trespassers who were killed and dumped into a nearby bog. That is the description for this zone, and I'll be honest with you, if this would have happened like 5 years ago, I would have said no, please no, because I was tired of zombies. However, it's been so long since we've had zombies zombies featured in the event in any prominent way that I feel like this zone will probably be the best way to reintroduce them to the park. All in all, I'm just so excited for this scare zone as it feels like it is an 80s zombie movie come to life. And truthfully, it feels like we finally have a good scare zone in Central Park that doesn't need pumpkins in the trees to make the fans love it. And finally, we have my number one, which if you haven't guessed it already, we have Enter the Blumhouse. And let's be honest, if you didn't see this coming, you possibly don't know me. I'm a diehard Blumhouse fan, so seeing the horrors of Blumhouse come to life in the streets of HHN is a dream come true for me. But let me read you this zone's description just so you can understand how excited I am in general. Escape a terrifying gauntlet of Blumhouse characters, from sinister sadists from The Purge and Black Phone to Megan dancing into your nightmares. You've never known horror like this. And just from this description alone, we know we're getting characters from The Purge, from the Black Phone, and from Megan, which honestly are all so perfect. I am just so happy to see that some of my favorite films are coming back to Halloween Horror Nights altogether. And don't get me wrong, I see the two glaring issues that are here with this scare zone as well, and that is that one, this zone is in San Francisco, meaning that there will be tons of congestion, making it almost impossible to walk through this scare zone 9 times out of 10, especially when the show dumps out. And two, that this zone will probably end up being a photo op zone due to the fact that everyone's going to want pictures with all of these Blumhouse characters due to them almost never having an opportunity to get those shots. And don't get me wrong, those two are big issues that a lot of people have had in the past with scare zones in San Francisco, but I don't think it bothers me. A lot of people had issues with Crypt TV, but it ended up being one of my favorite zones to just hang out in. So I feel like Blumhouse might just give me that same vibe, and I can't wait to go through it. Plus, if you ever need to find me, 9 times out of 10, I'll probably be in this scare zone. Just a heads up. And that is my 1 through 6 of scare zones and show, but I need to say this as well. Death Eaters are live entertainment for the event this year too, and I don't really know where I would rank them in terms of hype, as last year I liked them, but I didn't think they were perfect, so I kind of left them off the list as an honorable mention, as they are there, and the vibes were very immaculate whenever you went through Diagon Alley and you saw the Death Eaters walking through the zone. It felt very nice. It felt like there was something in Diagon Alley that was horror related for the first time ever, and it was a nice addition to the event. And again, I just want to express that I am very excited for everything coming to Halloween Horror Nights this year in general. I feel like this year's event is catered towards the diehard fans of the event and not so much the general public, which many may have an issue with, but it's perfect to me. I'm so excited to see how this plays out, and I want to know what you're most excited for. So let me know down below. Tell me your rankings for everything, not just scare zones, not just show, everything. I want to know what is your anticipation. What are you most excited to see at this year's event? While you're down there, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you guys already haven't done so, and stay excellent, my dudes.